Hello, everybody, and welcome to another incredible episode of our podcast here. I've got a very, very distinguished guest who's going to share these incredible nuggets with you today. And she is such an impressive person. Her name is Jessica McGrath-Gomez, who may be soon to be inducted into the nobility of Spain and the House of Cappadocia as a lady. And we'll find out more about that here just momentarily. But without any further ado, let's get started. Jessica, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. So
We're
great
excited that you're here and
Yeah.
to pick your brain a little bit. So let's start off real quickly so people know a little bit
Sure.
about your background.
Sure.
What was your youth like growing up as a child?
I had a kind of a rocky childhood, actually, John. My folks split when I was 3. Some of my earliest memories of our conflict, but they both loved me and they both wanted the best for me, but they didn't know how to cohabitate, I guess. And
Sure.
so I learned, for me, my parents were entrepreneurial. My dad was in the mortgage world for a very long time, always ran his own shop. And I really got the bug, I think, really when I was little, to be successul. I remember when I was very young, when I was 8, Girl Scout cookie season is upon us, as you know.
Yeah.
And I was in the Girl Scouts, and I remember some of my earliest memories are wanting to hit cookie sales levels.
Right.
And wasn't just looking like I'm going to sell to my family, but was looking at like all the opportunities. If you sold X amount of boxes, you get summer vacation at a horse ranch and things like that. And so I remember I hustled cookies at 8. And my dad always jokes about it because I used to think it was my dad that sold it at his office and kind of peddled it for me through his clients and whatnot. And I found out that, he actually told me this about a year ago. He said, Jess, I never wanted to do it. You were the one that wanted to do it. And you wanted to go door to door in our neighborhood. And I wasn't going to let my 8-year-old daughter knock on strangers' doors. So I just followed you around.
Wow.
To make sure that you didn't, get lost and whatnot. And so I've always been really excited about achieving things.
Yeah.
And that's just like a habit that sort of formed in me. And who knows for what purpose or why, but it just really is something that still drives me. It still drives me to sort of push my limits on what do I know, what do I not know, can I learn more, can I be more, what does that look like? So yeah.
And so growing up, did you go right into business or did you have jobs?
Man,
were you in corporate America?
Well, my first job ever was Dairy Queen.
Wow.
Dairy Queen was like my jam, 15 and a half.
That's
Back
right.
in those days, I don't know if those rules still apply. At 15 and a half, you could get a job and a driver's permit. And so, man, I was out of the house. The year before that, I actually convinced my parents to let me go to Africa for the summer. So at 14, I went on a mission trip to Africa.
Way. At 14?
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing opportunity to get perspective on life.
Sure.
I think when you're female in that age range of 14, it starts to become about what you look like and who you know and, the magazines and the whole bit. And I'm so blessed that I ended up in a very, very third world, situation. I lived out of a suitcase. I didn't even live out of a suitcase. I lived out of a vinyl duffel, slept in a tent for 3 months.
No way.
Took a bath in a river, used a hole in the ground as a bathroom.
So was this like a church program or a school program?
Team
or what?
Missions International.
Okay.
I was part of their, I was part of the drama team, the drama and music team. And so we went to little villages all over Zimbabwe and Mozambique for a summer. We lived on a bus. And I really got the perspective of the world, And I think just those little experiences in my life have always brought me to whatever the next adventure that I'm on. And I always had a bug to be independent. I always had a bug to want to get out and do something. I mean, I probably drove my mom crazy, and my dad was always game for whatever I threw at him. And when I was in college, I sold books door to door.
Wow.
So I went from sort of in that kind of world of cookie sales and things like that. I got recruited by a book selling company, very well known, been around a long time, over 100 plus years, Southwestern, and I sold books door to door every summer in college. Not so much because I needed my school covered, but because I wanted my social bank account to be full during the school year.
Sure.
Right, and not have to work while I was going to school.
Right.
So I sold books, and I loved that. And I was studying art, which is totally random. I think the only reason why my dad let me have an art degree is because I was learning how to be a business owner selling books. And when I graduated college, I got recruited to come to Southern California to be in real estate. This is 2003. The market's really hot in Southern Cal for new construction. And I got recruited by a builder to come and sell real estate for them.
Okay.
And I did that for a couple of years, and then transitioned into their mortgage team and helped them keep all of the mortgages in-house, because at that time they were pretty much their own bank and their own construction firm, right?
Okay.
And I loved it. And then the market happened. And then my ideal of making great money shifted. And I was making, I was young. I was, mid-20s, making over 6 figures, spending all of it. I don't have anything to show for that effort.
Right.
No coaching on how to be. I knew how to make money, but I never really learned how to keep it. And so I got introduced to an opportunity to be in the financial services platform. And that changed my life in so many ways, personally, professionally, as an entrepreneur. I learned so much so quickly about, gosh, you can make a lot of money, but it's really not about how much you make. It's about how much you save, how much you can create as a legacy for the generations after you. I just felt like in the real estate game, I felt like I didn't feel bad. Like I wasn't like putting people in bad situations per se, but I felt like it was kind of empty. And I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like, it felt like there was more. Like I had more purpose than to just transactionally based earnings. I wanted to be of purpose and make great money.
Sure.
So that's how I ended up where I'm at now, I guess, in a nutshell.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, you've done well for yourself.
Thanks.
Now. So you have a financial service practice, and you and your husband are essentially like brokers in your own world, right?
Yeah.
And you've got agents working for you. So do you think being an entrepreneur or a business owner is easy, or it's simple? Have you had any adversities, or what was your biggest adversity in business?
Wow. My biggest adversity in business. Honestly, so in my business, I partnered up with my best friend, my spouse, Tony, which was the best decision I ever made. I think without him, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
Yeah.
And so there's power in having him in my corner for sure. For me, I guess the biggest adversity is probably overcoming myself. In the context of when things get hard, and just on a personal note, we had some trials a couple of years ago. We got married. We got pregnant pretty soon after we got married, and fortunately, we were pregnant with twins. Unfortunately, they didn't make it. We lost them I was 7 months pregnant at the time. And that was the most personal adversity I've ever gone through in my life. And rooted, just heartbreaking. Heartbreak I couldn't even describe to you today if I could. Just the core of who I was shaken. And that, because I'm in business with my spouse, and we're dependent on each other, and our business is dependent on our ability to overcome things, I would say that was probably the season of the valley. Probably the biggest adversity in my business was overcoming the grief that we had to go through. But I am so grateful. I am beyond grateful for being able to overcome that grief. I think in part because of the skills I've learned as an entrepreneur, through the mentorships I've had, through the books I've read, through the support of the mentors that I have and the leadership that I have, I learned that that was a season that was going to pass at some point. Mm-hmm. And I knew that if I just kept trying to fight the battle inside of me, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. To accept it and understand it and then let it go, that it would eventually turn into something else, mm-hmm. you know? Mm-hmm. Sorry.
No, it's great.
That was probably the biggest adversity I ever had to overcome. Mm-hmm. And I think that, gosh, I think about the phone call we got from you, you know, and the other leaders that we have relationships with that connected with us and were there for us. Mm-hmm. I mean, nowadays people don't have community, you know, they don't have support. Mm-hmm. They desire connection. Like, we're the most connected we've ever been with social media, right? We can do a teleconference with somebody in another country, for crying out loud. Mm-hmm. And yet we feel so unattached, so like unfulfilled in that. Mm-hmm. And for me, having a strong support, having people in my corner that understand what I'm trying to accomplish. Not the people that don't understand it, right? Because there's a difference between people you engage with that understand your big vision, mm-hmm. and there's people that love you but they don't understand.
That's right.
Yeah. Do you have people like that, you know, that kind of, you're like, I love you but I can't talk about this with you?
Right. Sure.
Right. It won't be good for my mind.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think that was my biggest adversity.
So people who go through tough times, mm-hmm. and they have trauma in their life, what advice would you give them to just continue, just as you and Tony did? You know, you didn't quit. Yeah. You guys, you didn't go, all right, this is what we got in our life. Mm-hmm. Let's just close up shop. I mean, how did you guys overcome all this?
Gosh.
Was there some, obvious, communication between each other and comforting each other?
Sure.
And then, you had people who care about you and
mm-hmm.
love you, and where you're surrounding yourself with positive people. Mm-hmm. But what else? I mean, to give advice to other people who are going through some tough times and wonder.
Yeah. I mean, I think in my business, on the business side of it, one thing that I'm grateful for is I feel like I prepared my team, not knowing that this was going to happen, but I had put them in a place of empowerment. So I had taught them things that maybe they didn't really need in that moment when I was there, mm-hmm. but the minute that I wasn't there, they had tools that they could use because they had that training at some point in reference to just the daily function of the business, right? Sure. So that they could step into our place and run the meetings and run the events that we had on the calendar, because we didn't want those things to go away just because we couldn't physically be there. Mm-hmm. And so we had proactively empowered our people to take that step. Mm-hmm. That was huge. And then I think the other piece is knowing our end goal. Like, we knew, like I said earlier, this season was going to pass. We knew that there was a bigger vision, and we knew that we needed to keep that consistency of effort. Yeah, mm-hmm. we slowed down, but we didn't stop. Right? I mean, you can take a rest and not quit.
Right. Right.
You can take a rest and go, baby steps if you have to, crawl mm-hmm. if you have to, right? But you don't give up.
That's right.
I mean, it never really seemed like an option, honestly. I never even entertained the idea of that. I just knew, okay, well, maybe I'm just gonna have to really slow down,
sure.
right? I'm just gonna be in a season of like waking up and picking up the phone once, mm-hmm. or whatever. Just to get going,
sure.
Even if that was a little victory, and I recognized the little victories mm-hmm, instead mm-hmm. of being like, well, what's wrong with you? You should be way over here, and I couldn't be way over there right now.
That's right.
So,
what are 5 quick things that you would advise a entrepreneur or a startup, mm-hmm, someone who's
mm-hmm.
at a job, and wanting to take that step towards entrepreneurship? What are 5 things, quick advice things you would give them?
Oh man, okay. 5 things I would say. Have a support person that won't let you off the hook for that dream.
Holding you accountable to it.
Totally. Okay. I mean, we know, like with parenting, like I'm a parent, I have parents. I know if I call my dad and whine about something in my business, he's going to tell me to pick myself up by my bootstraps and get going, right? My mom, on the other hand, she'll be the mom and coddle me a little bit and kind of let me off the hook. So I know I can't call her when I'm really trying to go towards something big. So know who your people are, right? Know who's going to hold you accountable to what you really want.
That's right.
I would say be clear about what are your critical success factors, meaning what are the things you have to do every day, what actionable things you have to do to get you to that next step, to get you to that. Sometimes we forget that there's actual habits, there's actual action things we have to do besides talking about it.
That's right.
Right? How many phone calls, if you're in that kind of business, how many relationships are you building? How many appointments are you running? Do you know how to track your business? That kind of thing, right? Sometimes when we're entrepreneurs or startups, we sort of, there's this great book, and now I've forgotten it, but it talks about the entrepreneurial seizure. That you have this entrepreneurial seizure one day, you have this great hobby you love, and you're like, oh, I know, I'll turn it into a business.
Right.
But you have no foundation for business development, like what's going to scale your business to the next level, right? Just because you have a hobby of making a knickknack or something does not make a scalable business, right?
That's right.
So knowing those things, and I would say, besides the action, having a person, I mean, man, you got to sell it to your family. You got to get your biggest advocate is the people in your household, right? When mommy has to go and she's not going to be home until late at night because she's running appointments or she's at some event where she's putting her name out there for the family, you got to make sure they know that there's something in it for them.
That's right.
Right? That you don't let their tears as you're going out the door weaken your resolve in the wellness of your children.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
I do not want my child to be my excuse. He is the reason that I want to have a legacy. He's the reason why I juggle mom and entrepreneur and wife and mentor, right? I juggle all those hats because I want that in my legacy. I told my mom the other day, I don't want my kid to be afraid to go after his dreams. I want him to be able to have, everything he could possibly have and know he can do anything. Anything, but he has to see me do it. I can't talk. He has to see me doing it.
That's right.
Right? And so I had to win my family over to my commitment because it's going to take a sacrifice. I'd say the last thing, you got to make a sacrifice. You have to be willing to make a sacrifice. It's not that your business demands it. It's that success demands your sacrifice. If you think you're just going to magically one day have it all without making any sacrifices, you have been misled. You have been misled to what entrepreneurism is. You're playing entrepreneur, as my 2-year-old plays preschool, right? You aren't a entrepreneur. An entrepreneur knows that they have to make sacrifices because it's for the greater good.
Good, yeah, good.
So
now, so was that 4 or was that 5 now? That was 4, right?
I just
let's share one more. What's one last one that you want to share with everyone?
Oh man, I would say love it. Like just know that it's all for you. That just like all the adversity, the challenges, the sacrifices, embrace it because this is it, right? This is your opportunity to make it happen. Our life is so short. Right. Sometimes we don't realize how short. Right. I think sometimes we are just in a cloud, a haze of like just getting through the day, getting through the hour, getting through the week. When's my weekend? When's my next kid's vacation time? Right. Right. And man, I would just want, embrace the life you've been given. And love even the hard stuff because it's going to make you the kind of person you're meant to be. I totally believe in the deepest root of me that you are a dream that God had. And he put your physical body around that dream when you were conceived. And that is why you're on this planet, is to fulfill the dream that God had for you. So good. And I hope for everyone that's on this, I hope for them that they would find out what that dream is. But you're not going to get it playing small, and you're not going to get it playing average. You're going to get it when you make sacrifices, you take the risks you need to take to get to the next level of whatever that dream is.
So good. Good stuff.
Thanks.
Yeah. Wow. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode of this podcast. We have Jessica McGrath-Gomez, who literally took this episode, every emotion. It was like a roller coaster, right? I mean, we were up here laughing, and down here, we're all about to cry here. And so, but thank you, Jessica, for coming in today and sharing these amazing, amazing, messages and content so that we could help you and your company grow. So if you just look at the link here below, please feel free to reach out to Jessica. She's available. Get some counsel, get some wisdom from this amazing lady, mom, entrepreneur, CEO, wife, daughter. What an amazing person she is. Thank you so much, and take care, you guys. Hey, please like and subscribe for the next amazing episode of this podcast. Have a great one.